myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, I can hold my own hand, yeah, I can love me better than you can. Hang my nail, cherry red, that's the roses that you wear. No rewind, no regret, I'll forgive every word you said. I didn't wanna leave you, I didn't wanna lie. Started to cry, but then remembered I can buy myself flowers, write my name in the sand, talk to myself for hours, say things you don't understand. I can take myself dancing, I can hold my hand, yeah, I can love me better than you can.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's great to see some of you here on Thursday morning after probably a wonderful Indaba, working 20 hours a day or thereabouts. So I'm delighted you're here this morning to the inaugural first ever exploration program. You know, this is particularly important, and I want to give you a couple of stats before I jump into housekeeping and things. I'm not sure you're aware, but 60% of commercial discoveries are made by juniors. And juniors are going to be quite a focus today. And I think what makes these panels even more important, that juniors have a 90% failure rate. So only 10% of them actually manage to either sell their project or commercialize their project or put it into production. And that's why I think panels such as what we have during the course of this morning are particularly important. Not only that these companies are going to secure the energy transition for us, but there is such a high failure rate, and how can we manage against that? Whilst you're sitting there, please feel free to hashtag MI26 or ampersand mining Indaba on any questions or comments or photographs you may have of the various panels. The more media that gets out there, the better for the mining Indaba and the better for the exploration business. There'll also be a QR code you can see behind you. Please take a photograph of this and lodge your questions there. And this will help the moderators as they go through the session. So Africa is abundant in natural resources. We know this. It's the ultimate frontier for discovery, copper belts, lithium corridors, gold, silver, you name it. It's out there to be found. And these are the keys to the energy transition. So this, amongst financing, amongst artificial intelligence, and many other vital themes are what are going to be explored during several exciting panels during the course of this morning. So I hope it's going to be a vibrant, interesting session for you. Please remain engaged. Please talk to the panelists after their sessions so we know it's of interest to you as well. I'd like to acknowledge the stage sponsor, the Council for Geoscience, which are very kindly hosting the stage, and there are a couple of speakers from there today, and please give them a special round of applause. So I'd like to immediately jump into the first panel. And the first panel looks at Africa as the ultimate frontier for discovery, copper belts, lithium corridors, driving the energy transition. And this session focuses on how explorers can push boundaries, accelerate projects, and secure funding. And I'd like to ask Mr. Bokang Kalepa, Chief Growth Officer of Ballet Sama Holding, to come on the stage and introduce his panelists. Bokang.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bokan Kelepa, like James has just said.
Thank you.
You know, always in my thought, I remember one of the visits that we made with the Council of the Geoscience. A seed was actually planted to all of us to say, sometimes we say mining is actually a sunset industry, but rather we do not have facts. The stat that came out was a bit shocking. I know that South Africa has been very poor in terms of exploration. But then when the CEO there said 80% of South Africa is not mapped. So for us to make a conclusion that mining is a sunset industry, only with 20% of data, it doesn't make sense. So definitely with that, there was a room for improvement to say we really need to do a lot in terms of exploration. So with the current panel, we're going to be able to get a lot of answers, questions. We've got representatives from all over the place. We've got Tanzania, we've got South Africa, and then we also have Egypt. So I hope really it covers almost all the angles of Africa, and you'll be able to get a lot of angles in the room. So I think with that being said, my panel, can you just please jump up front, and then we can formally introduce ourselves, our background, and the companies that you come from. Thank you. All right, Mustafa, I think let me start with you on the other end. Tell the people your name, the company, where you're from, and just give us a little bit of a background about what you do and also what your company does.
Thank you so much. My name is Mustafa. My name is Mustafa Talat. I am CEO and founder of Ank Resources, a junior exploration company established in Jersey, UK, and we are holding an exploration license in Egypt. The company focused in exploring gold and copper in the project that we are engaged in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. Okay, Krista.
Hi everyone, my name is Krista Mhingo. I'm Country Director for Ecograph Limited. Ecograph is an ASX listed company that is developing a graphite mine in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Asine, go for it.
Good morning. My name is Asinech Bubuza. I'm the head of exploration at the Council for Geoscience, which is a state-owned entity, and currently we are running one of the biggest exploration programs in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. The biggest argument that has been really taking place, and you find different speakers, I mean, big bosses, arguing to say what is a critical mineral and what is not a critical mineral. And I think it differs from context to context, and maybe I like what Honorable Mandasha said, to say it's critical depending on the needs for the country. What is your take on that, Mustafa? What is a critical mineral?
Well, the global energy transformation towards the green energy and more development in the technology and AI-related investments and businesses puts lots of pressure in finding critical minerals aimed to engage and boost and empower this kind of industries to grow. So critical is based on the global demand, as you just said, that there is a high global demand, unrecognizable, and the commodity prices are reflecting this. And this leads to more pressure in trying to explore and find more critical minerals and copper, and to keep evolving and to keep trying to transform into the green energy mostly.
Good, thank you. Krista.
Thank you for your question. I think critical minerals, we call them critical because they are needed at a specific timeline to support the existing technology. and critical minerals will only be critical at a certain time frame, and after certain years there will be changes. The priorities of the industry depends with what the technology requires. Like right now, everyone is looking for developing to the battery EV manufacturing automobiles. So most of the minerals that are supporting that technology, for example graphite, they become critical at that stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Just expand more on it. As I know you guys work a lot on this, and daily it's what you're working with your big library there at the Council of Geoscience.
Yes, I mean, if you have been following the argument that our minister always makes, as the fact that the context plays a major role in how you define your critical minerals. I mean, if we look at the context of South Africa, critical minerals will be those key minerals that we'll need, that will assist us in terms of dealing with our economic development, social issues that we have, and at the same time taking into consideration the energy transition that the world is kind of going through. Of course, I mean, all other things that are related to the market also plays a role. So hence, we always argue that critical minerals are those minerals that you have and that are important in terms of making sure that those social development and energy transition aspects are catered for. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a reason, there's a story behind why we are where we are now. I mean, as the country, why are we lagging in terms of the exploration? There's really a reason around that. There's a lot of boundaries, and what are those boundaries? How can we push them? And I think I'm going to take this and throw it back to you, Asine. How do you make sure that you also fast track all of those projects?
And look, one of the biggest issue that is facing exploration, especially when you look at the fact that juniors are the ones which drive exploration, is the issue around funding, right? Juniors, if they don't have money, they're not gonna do any exploration. They're not gonna find any deposits. But if there's funding made available, or there's funding that can be easily accessed by the juniors, then exploration will be where we want it to be. And hence, currently, the government and the IDC and ourselves, the Council for Geoscience, have come together and put this Junior Mining Exploration Fund, which is literally meant to help the junior miners or junior explorers to fund their project and see how far we can go in terms of critical mineral exploration. And our target minerals are directed or guided by the critical mineral strategy and the exploration strategies that we have as a country. So you are looking at minerals like copper, lithium, rare earth elements, of course, including things like PGMs and gold. I mean, like I said initially, for us, critical minerals have to look at what is the outcome that we can get as a country in terms of solving our current problems. So we have made funding available, and that way we are going to see a lot of exploration taking place. And once you have the funding, the only limitation that you're going to have is in terms of what the ground can give you, because all the necessary aspects that needs to be finished or needs to be completed, the funds are going to be there to make sure that you do those things. If you need to fly drones, then you have the funding or you have the money to deploy drones to assist you in fast-tracking your exploration program.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Great stuff. Krista, how do we literally push these boundaries? How do we make sure that we win and we don't find ourselves in this state? It's an African problem. It's not only a South African problem.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that question. We have explorers who finally turn to be a junior mining company, and then they become a major mining company at some stage. And at every level, there are different things that a company can do to push the boundaries, but also to fast track the project generally. I would say adhering to the ESG standards, ensuring that the governments, the policymakers are able to get a secured and a responsible source for your commodity is the way to push, because during financing, as we all aware in the mining space, there are a lot of ESG standards to comply with. So for the company to be able to push the borders, they need to make sure that they are adhering to each of the environmental, social, and governance standard. Though I would not ignore the fact that with all of the fast track that we do, we are not fast enough. Most of these companies that are talking about ESG, equatorial standards, and everything, the IFC standards, they are quite slow. Like, it would take a child to be born and to start school before the project takes off. And it's not, we miss the market, we miss the prices. So as much as the company does something, I would still want maybe all of us to also touch on the potential delays that are caused by the same responsibility on the ESG. Thank you.
Mustafa? And Mustafa, all you added, really, let's talk about what Krista is talking about, the challenge that we have, that things are really moving quite slow. How can we fast track that? What would be your suggestion across this as well?
Speaking from the background of operating in Egypt and also being an Egyptian mining engineer, I see that it's a joint responsibility between the private sector, the junior companies, and the government in trying to enhance and boost the junior exploration companies to accelerate and fast track. From what's happening in where I operate in the North Africa Arab-Nubian Shield region, I see that the government now are continuously evolving and enhancing the mining code and the mining terms to make it more attractive for companies to come. And on the other side, they just launched a country-scale airborne geophysical survey aimed to identify further commodities and minerals that are usually expected to be available in Arab-Nubian Shield geodistriction, to be able to open more room for explorers who would love to explore for more copper, more potentially lithium, potentially graphite. You know, there is a room for more than 20 minerals can be found in the Arab-Nubian Shield that can be utilized commercially, and most of them are much needed for today's energy transition and the global shortage of supply that we are keep facing every day. So the junior exploration companies need to be smart and agile and try to achieve as much as they can. But the access to finance will always depend on how good they are and also how good is the reputation of the geodistriction. So the more the governments are trying to improve and enhance and send positive message, the more the junior explorer will have more acceptance to access to funds to be able to accelerate and boost to go into the development phase. It takes time and it's not an easy job. It takes like 8 to 10 years to develop a proper mine in a new geodistriction. So to have the confidence to keep investing for 10 years until you start getting your ROI, you need stable regime, you need business-oriented regime. You don't deal with a government that only wanted to communicate in one direction. You need a country that wanted to work hand to hand with the investments. And this is the position where we are. Egypt is evolving every day and trying to find more opportunities to offer for the investments to come.
I like you saying enhance those companies that are involved in this exploration. Do you mind diving deeper? When you say enhance, are you saying that they're supporting them from a financial point of view? What is enhance? Are they
In the mining code.
dropping the red tape?
You mean in the mining code enhancements? From an investment point of view, each company, especially the ones who will be looking for development for big-scale mining operation, they have seen some points that need to be enhanced in the mining code of Egypt, which was just launched in 2020. So the continuous improvement is needed always to be able to. You need to be dynamic in your mining codes. You don't need to be static because the commodities change in the prices, commodity change in the demand. So when you need to have better mining geodistriction, especially that Egypt economy is having only 1% contribution in the GDP from the mining at the moment, and the government wanted to boost it to 5%. So this is a very aggressive plan to happen in 10 years, and for this, the government had to be more open for roundtable discussions and listening to experts from the industry and from the big mining companies' view and from the junior mining companies' view, to be able to pave the way for the companies to be able to access the finance that they need and also to start engaging in the on-ground activities. So enhancement means that if there is any obstacle that you may see, the governments who are willing to discuss it and enhance it or modify it for the bigger picture and for the longer term returns from the industry is a jurisdiction that should be popular for juniors exploration company to join.
Thank you. Do you want to jump in?
All right.
Are you happy?
Yes, sir.
How do you fast track? I really want to understand from our side. I'm glad that you are saying with South Africa they've put the exploration fund in place. But how do you now that you've got those in place, how do you make sure that you accelerate this? 80% is a long time. I mean, we're really lagging behind. But also on the other side, from a politics point of view, while we're at it, let's talk about the BEE. Is it exempted when it comes to exploration or not?
No, thanks. So let me start with the last part of the question. We are very deliberate in terms of how we approach the junior mining exploration in the context of South Africa, due to the fact that there is a transformation agenda that we also need to keep in the back of our minds. So when we are supporting junior miners, we are supporting junior miners who have at least 51% ownership within the BEE group. So there are the other 49% can be owned by whosoever, but at least we want the 51% to be owned by a BEE partner. And that's just how we're approaching it. That is not applicable to anything outside of the fund, but for us to fund the project, we want that 51% to be owned by a BEE partner. So yes, that's just the last part. So there's in terms of making sure that these projects are running as fast as possible, innovation and collaboration, as he kind of Mustafa indicated there, are quite critical. So historically, I mean, you will spend a month or so walking through a tenement, collecting ground magnetic data, but right now you bring in a drone with a magnetic sensor, you fly it, within a week you have covered most of the ground, and that already is reduced by 3 weeks. So, and once you have that data, you have historical data, you put them together, you deploy AI, you come up with a target very quickly. I mean, there are so many innovative ideas that we are using to make sure that we don't waste a lot of time trying to identify or end up with a drilling target. I mean, if I look at some of the projects that we are working on so far, we literally started deploying them, people on the ground in May last year. And as I'm talking to you right now, some of these projects are very close to reaching a point where they're going to be putting in an application for mining rights. That's how fast we are trying to get these projects to move to a point where they can be attractive to an investment community, and we can try to discover as many of these critical minerals as possible within a reasonable short of time, instead of spending 10 to 17 years going through the whole exploration process. Not that we are doing any shortcuts. We are following all the right necessary steps, but deploying much more faster methods to get to where we want to go.
Okay. What are the hindrances on your side, Mustafa, or maybe the enablers, even if you can call it that? In South Africa, it's always an argument to say, is it an enabler or is it basically a hindrance? Do you guys have anything like that when it comes to Egypt? Do you struggle? The hindrances, what is holding you guys back in Egypt in terms of you getting to what you want to get to?
It's not that what's holding us back. We are actually one of the best companies in making progress on the ground because of our local background. The usual challenges for any new open jurisdiction is always the expectations versus reality, mostly for the foreign companies coming for the first time to operate. So just it's a matter of understanding of the countries before you start operating. So in a country like Egypt, it have been a republic for 70 years, having lots of layers of paperwork and the flow of processes that you have to fulfill. And this sometimes takes time, but this also is one of the areas that was identified. And the current new updated system will make it all be facilitated from one place that you will deal with. So again, this is the best thing, that whenever there is an obstacle in the way, or whenever there is an issue that may hold the industry back, we'll be always try to find a way. If it's government related, if it's community related, then it's more about the CSR programs that each and every junior company need to adopt to be able to be welcomed within the local communities where they operate. Sometimes not all the people are happy to see foreign companies coming to exploit, especially if you have artisanal mining activities happening on the ground. So it's again some of the responsibility of the challenges may fall into the government side, but some also may fall into the private sector side by being fully aware about the local neighborhood and what you need to be ready for, and how you can inspire the communities where you will be operating to become a stakeholder for your project rather than resisting your project. The manpower is also because Egypt was not much of a mining popular destination for exploration, so this did not lead to much of availability of ready to deploy talents in country. This was a challenge for some companies, but again, for our situation, because of our pre-existence in this industry in Egypt for more than 20 years, we had the best access to the manpower in country to be able to support our technical teams and start progressing very quickly from day one. But the usual challenges for any new jurisdiction will not be much different from this. It's about the local understanding of the communities. The pricing, matrix in each and every jurisdiction is different, so you need to be ready to understand how much it will cost you to do the same activity you used to do in maybe different jurisdiction in Africa. And if it's government related or mining code related or any of the legalization points, I can easily and comfortably say that current Egypt government is very keen to improve the mining sector, and you can see that they have been doing lots of extra mile efforts that was not usually being recognized before in trying to boost and empower the mining industry and increase the number of players in the market. Thank you.
Thank you. Krista, would you like to jump to that?
Can you repeat your question?
I'm saying, what is holding back? What is impeding the progress? Some people see BE on our side, which is the Black Economic Empowerment. Some people see it as actually something that is, if you look at the Starlink for Elon Musk, they see it as some of the things that are holding South Africa back from growing. Some are viewing it as an enabler. What is it that you would say is something that is inhibiting your progress when it comes to this?
Okay.
As a country?
Yeah. Thank you. So I'm tempted to say we still get so much support. We still get support from Tanzanian government in terms of the policies. And I heard Mustafa mentioning countries being more ready to sit round tables with companies, getting feedback on the policies that are not practical. Because sometimes the countries would initiate something that when you go to implement it in the industry, it is impractical. That's a good idea, and we're still getting support. Not only Tanzania, we're working closely with the European Union, the US government, and some of them are even here in this panel just in support. That is how much support we receive from international banks. But I think the main thing that is hindering projects from moving forward is who starts first. It's like chicken and egg. Off-takers will come and say, oh, you're not financed by now. How are you going to build the mine? How am I being confident enough to know that you are going to meet your time frame in 3 years? Because until now, there is no any hope in getting finance. And then a financier will come and say, you didn't sell your graphite, for example, Ecograph. Yes, we have our off-takers, don't get us wrong, but a banker will come and say, you did not sign enough off-take agreements. There is no a strong equity partner in your project that we can put confidence in facilitating the debt with your project. So I think this is the issue. Who starts first? We need maybe next year, because I think me and Mustafa, this is the third panel, we are speaking almost the same thing for 3 years. I think next year we need to come with something new. We don't want to come here and say our government has built bridges, they've brought hydropower, like Tanzania has been doing a lot to facilitate mining sector. But it is beyond Tanzania, it is beyond South African government. we need to have that centralized system. How do we consolidate these ESG standards? Sometimes my CEO is here, he would come and say, Krista, I won't mention this organization. Krista, there is these new standards we need to adhere to, so can we start some meeting with them and talk to them about how do we comply? And I'm like, Andrew, we have already complied to IFC, we are already adhering to the equatorial standards, and who are these guys? And Andrew will say, these are just the new standards, maybe they'll help us to get more financing. So I think at some stage, we need to reduce these principles, we need to just consolidate them, get something centralized. You don't go to this bank, they give you new standards, and the other bank. But also at the end of the day, someone should come up and create something sort of like bankers and off-takers to come together. I was tempted to start something like that at some stage, but I got busy. I couldn't get to finally make it work. But if there is someone looking for innovation, because I heard innovation being mentioned here, that is something to innovate. Create a platform and call it off-takers, financiers, and then sit together. Who is the egg? Who is the chicken? How do we start and make this project work? Otherwise,
Matchmaking, basically.
yeah, otherwise we'll rotate to every bank asking us for off-take agreements, and we'll rotate to every off-taker asking us for the funds. Thank you.
Very interesting, actually. Coming to think about it, we can be our own solutions, especially with access to technology that we have. I can just imagine us having a sort of a business matchmaking in that instance. It can go a long way, and we don't have that. So thanks a lot for that. Audience, please don't mind to put your questions through. We're going to go through your questions. I think we are left with 14 minutes. At 10 minutes spot, I would like us to stop and entertain the questions from the audience. There's already a couple of interesting questions that are coming. I think you are really blessed with a rich panel here representing multiple segments of Africa, so it will be nice. Dr. Asine, I really love your background, and I became particularly interested in your your West African Exploration Initiative, where you are remapping the West African craton so that you can understand the whole covering, and you're covering a lot of West African countries, right? And then you're unifying the geology in these countries, and you're funded by the juniors in Australia and a lot of mines that open afterwards. So, the question that I really want to ask you is that, what are the Africa's exploration hotspot at the moment?
Yes, I mean, if you look at Africa as a continent, we have about 5 or 6 major cratons, of which all those major cratons and associated mobile belts are basically a host of almost, basically I would say all of the key critical minerals that everyone is looking for right now. From the Arabian-Nubian Shield through the Congo down to the Kalahari and the West African Craton, as you mentioned, all the critical minerals literally comes from those areas. And if you look at all these regions, they have one common problem. Most of them are poorly mapped, which is where the West African Exploration Initiative came in terms of trying to understand the West African Craton as a whole, one country to the next, trying to make sure that the geology is harmonized and the mineral systems are well understood. So that program ran from somewhere around 2006 to about the end of last year. And if you look at West Africa back in 2006, West Africa was dominantly a gold producing region. Fast track 10 years later, West Africa was diversified. You were having REEs coming in, lithium coming in, manganese coming in, iron ore coming in, all other commodities kept on coming in simply because now there was a better understanding of what the craton is like. And the same applies to any other region. If the southern region of Africa can collaborate in terms of attacking or mapping the Kalahari Craton, which is basically the Gap Valley and the Zimbabwe Craton, the geology there is more or less the same. But when you're in South Africa, the geology map look somehow these colors, and you go to Zimbabwe, the geology map looks like this. these rocks are defined as that, these rocks are defined as that, and you always have to try to find a way of merging these things to make sense. But the borders are literally not dividing the geology, which is again one of the things that kind of takes us a step back in terms of fast-tracking our exploration programs. So if South Africa alone so far has managed to map the country at a high resolution scale of 1:50,000 to cover almost 20%, like you said in your introduction, 80% of that region has not, of the rest of the region has not been mapped at that high resolution scale, which is a bit of an issue when it comes to exploration. Because once you have a 1:50,000 resolution map, you give it to an explorer, they can easily create regional targets, and they then know where to go. But without that kind of mapping, you have a very big challenge. I mean, look at Central Africa, look at the Congo Basin. How much do we know about those areas? Those are some of the big gaps that we still have. So mapping our areas or Africa in a reasonable scale, important for exploration, will take us a long way in terms of meeting some of these targets that, or the demands that are there for critical minerals. And over and above just mapping, a collaborative approach, like I said, governments coming together. Mustafa mentioned the aspect of juniors working with the government, and I'll even say bringing in the majors, which deals with this problem that Christina is bringing into the table. We go and explore, a major is sitting, waiting, we have de-risked the program, or we have de-risked the project, the major takes that project and develop it further. They will find it much more easy because even the finances at that point where it now needs to go to bankable feasibility study are much more heavier for a junior to carry. So which then means a major company will be able to go through the hoops to make sure that this thing ends up in production. So those are some of the things that just need to be closed off to make sure that so much is happening in terms of the exploration within the continent and within South Africa as a whole. Basically, it applies to all of us here.
Okay. One of the discussions that I was having with one of the audience members is how less invested we are when it comes to research and development. And research and development in our context here being the drilling or the exploration. And you know, when you said this to me and I asked you who funded it, and you said to me it's Australia, automatically with that you already have Australia as an equity holder. So I think us in the room as Africans, we really need to make sure that we really invest in this kind of programs, because later on you're going to be complaining and crying about what is not happening or what is not going right. Because while we're talking about this, I'm just thinking, who are the stakeholders? You know, and I don't know if you want to touch on it just a bit before we move. Who are the stakeholders in this whole program?
So, okay, let me just maybe give you a bit of info on who are the stakeholders on the West African exploration, then I'll come to the junior mining exploration. And like I said, the juniors were the key stakeholders, and the governments and the universities and of course the communities. But the advantage that was there for the juniors is whatever data set was being collected becomes available to them immediately, which means that they can then easily select areas of interest and carry on with the rest of the drilling and whatever is needed to fast track the projects. Within the Junior Mining Exploration Fund, the juniors again are our key stakeholders because they are the prospecting right holders and mining right holders. So without those license documents, we can't do anything. As the Council of Geoscience, we don't necessarily hold any prospecting right. So hence we had to make a call for the junior miners who holds PRs to come in with their PRs, and we evaluate those PRs. And what then gives them a much more better step ahead is the fact that we hold historical data within the Council of Geoscience, which is quite critical in terms of analyzing the areas that they hold there for their prospecting rights, and then we can easily select the best areas, which is what we did with the first call. So it's the key stakeholders, our juniors, of course ourselves, the Council for Geoscience, the IDC, and of course the government. And I mean, I can't leave out the rest of the communities and the landowners, because the other key thing is, if the landowners don't give us access to the land, then we can't do much. So hence that collaborative approach with the landowners become quite critical for us to be able to achieve what we need to achieve.
Love it. Great stuff. Thank you. Do you want to jump in? Who are the stakeholders on your side? Quickly, we actually need to jump to questions. Or Mustafa, come in here, go in quickly.
I think you said the last 10 minutes for the questions, so we are now 6 minutes.
Yeah, we are left with 6 minutes. All right, thank you guys. You can still pull your questions through. Currently, I'm standing here with 6 questions. So if you still want to ask some questions to this esteemed panel, you can go for it. So for you to be able to ask questions, those who are not aware, you need to, may you please put up the QR code? Yeah, just scan that and then put your question through. We still have 6 minutes for the questions. Is funding aimed at enabling critical minerals exploration only limited to South Africa? So is funding aimed at enabling critical minerals exploration only limited to South Africa? So that's the question. Wouldn't it be better to enable African exploration without borders? And I think this question really talks to all of this African free continental trade as well. Okay.
Yeah, so currently the money was made available by the South African government, and yes, it's basically state-owned entities, and we are getting interest from the Anglo team. They are also going to put additional money, and there are other indications that there's more funds which are also going to come through. But in this case, those funds were literally just ring-fenced for the borders or for South African context. Will it be great to have something much more bigger to the African continent? Of course, but this is where now we'll need major players and all the other government to kind of come into the table so that we can have a much more bigger fund. But for now, the fund is limited to the South African context.
Okay, thank you. And then this one is still a question, a follow-up question to you. Dr. Asine, what criteria is used to award the JMEF?
Okay, thanks. So like I said, one of the key criteria is the fact that the project needs to be 51% BEE. We are not, that one we are not even negotiating. As I said, the fund is ring-fenced for the borders within South Africa, so it's 51% BEE. Youth is also one of the things that we look at. Female is also one of the things that we pay attention to. But what we really look at, most importantly, is the potential within the area, the geological indication or prospectivity of the area. That comes up at the top simply because if you are in the right location, the chances of success even become much more higher. So you can be 51%, but in a wrong location, we won't fund the project. But the geology, the location of the project is what we pay attention to.
Interesting. Geologists have never been this important before, guys. I'm from the mines myself, and I'm a mining engineer, and geology department wasn't really the most important. But you know, with this drive for exploration, we really seen the need for exploration. And I wonder, in terms of the skill, would you say that you've got enough skills in the market for the geologist?
We do have enough skills.
Okay.
One thing I'll say is, yes, you can be a geologist, but you don't necessarily are an exploration geologist. Exactly. So it's I mean, even James will tell you that to be an exploration geologist takes another set of elements that you need to have, because you need to be willing to go and spend time in unfamiliar territories, in areas which are not the most comfortable. And if you can, again, then survive that environment, the geological aspect of understanding and connecting the dots becomes very important. And I mean, yes, we have the skills, we are developing more skills, we are bringing in innovation in terms of AI, we are bringing in innovation in terms of geophysics, and we have enough of those skill sets. But again, the right and kind of personality also plays a major role in terms of whether those skill sets end up being useful in the exploration site.
Okay.
If you
Two
allow
more
me, please,
questions,
to
Mustafa.
interrupt, because I would just like to give a glimpse about the question about to this answer, the answer to this question. When you ask about do we have enough geologists, you speak about South Africa or you speak about the African continent?
African continent.
We have a big deficit, and we are facing very less people who are excited now to join the mining industry because of the nature of the hard work, and now many people wanted to work in white-collar jobs. I see that the current rise up in the demand on the minerals and the boom in the exploration business, which we have all can see already during the last 4 days in the conference, will reflect in more number of projects, and we are not at any level ready for this yet. I'm speaking from an African point of view, not even from a country point of view. So I see that one of the key factors that we need to start working on, and we are already late and behind in working on, is the capacity building of the younger generations who will be leading this industry in the future. If you look now, you will find the majority of the CEOs of the operating companies in Africa are non-African, and most of the senior management roles are still also non-African because of the deficit of the manpower that we have. So we need to encourage and inspire more younger generations in the mining industry to join the mining industry, and how the mining industry can be a game changer for the economies of scale of the countries where they are operating, and also for the social contribution that the mining will add in the local communities. So I see that we need to have much more than we have now in the geology skill set and mining skill set as well.
Okay. Great. Let's just take one more question. Actually, we are out of time. Is the recent push for America into critical minerals having any impact in the wider African region? Krista, can I just put that to you?
Thank you. I hope the American government is not here, because I had many meetings with the American government every time, and unfortunately we just on the same stage every time. Even now, I'm going to meet the ambassador of US in Tanzania just on Tuesday next week. The truth is, no, I'm not going to speak about the other guys that EU, US, they don't want to hear them. If you mention them in a project, they won't give you funding. But the truth is, these are the guys who are accomplishing projects. Why? I think that is something we can discuss after this panel. You're always welcome to chat more.
All right. You want to say something? Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I think from this we can clearly see, I mean, we've run out of time. Literally, we're at minus now. We can clearly see that the issue of, say, mining is a sunset industry. It isn't. In fact, we need more skills. Thanks for that insight. I didn't know, no one has ever put it out there to say we don't have exploration geologists. So thanks a lot, in fact, on that insight. So mining is a sunset, it's not a sunset industry, it's actually a sunrise industry, especially with Africa, with all the opportunities that are lying under our ground at this moment. So let's encourage our youngsters to come back to mining. Of course, you need to do different ways now to attract these youngsters. Technology is there, they love technology. I think they will be able to pull through. And I don't know, Mustafa, do you want to say something? I see you keep on raising your hand.
Yes, I spoke about this specifically, the youngsters and the inspiration for the younger generation, because I am involved in a non-profitable organization established here in South Africa called AfriMine. It aimed to inspire 5 million Africans to join the mining industry within the next 5 to 10 years. So this is an initiative that I also call everyone on the floor to look at and support. And they will be having a mentorship session today here in the city ICC2 at 12 p.m. So I encourage the companies who are willing to do more in the social contribution and the support that they can give back to the African continent by trying to support organizations like this who are willing to spread the knowledge and spread the good vibes about the industry. I encourage all of them to come and see what's happening at 12 o'clock.
Okay, thank you. There are 3 questions unanswered. The panel will hang around just a bit. Please feel free to interact with them. We have come to the end of our panel. Thank you a lot. James, back to you.
Thank you very much, Bakang, and thank you very much, panelists. Before I introduce the next session, I'd just like to pick up on some of the excellent discussion amongst the panelists. And some of it was on funding. I'm not sure that the audience will know, but less than 5% of exploration funding for Africa actually comes from Africa. So that is a very, very big challenge. So that is something which obviously needs considerable work, because obviously the people who provide the early stage funding into exploration projects are the ones who actually own the projects